Right, so a few weeks ago, we spoke about a situation involving an aquarium. Well, kind of an aquarium. It was more of a jewellery store with a few fish tanks. They called themselves an aquarium. Well, today we have a new situation involving an aquarium, and this time it seems to be an actual aquarium. And also, I do realise I just said the word aquarium far too many times to begin that video. I do apologise, but either way, let's add some context to this situation. So the first person to be aware of is a TikToker called Brittany Taryn. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but Brittany has uploaded a series of videos for the past month, really. I mean, the oldest video we're looking at today is about a month ago. The newest video that we're looking at today is like a few hours ago. And the videos have been surrounding an aquarium, more specifically the San Antonio Aquarium. This is their TikTok account right here. They actually have 1 million followers on TikTok, so clearly a very well-known aquarium. So let's start from the beginning. So the first video is explaining that Brittany and her son had went to the San Antonio Aquarium, and her son had actually left there with a bunch of red marks on his arm.
I'm pretty sure when I tell y'all what this is on my son's arm, you're not going to believe me, but I have the receipts. And I'm definitely going to need some animal experts to weigh in. Okay, here's a little bit of a backstory. My son has always been obsessed with animals, but especially sea life. We started going to this aquarium in 2021, and most weeks we're there several times a week. His obsession with marine biology started young because I was always helping him see or touch the octopus. I don't have a lot of pictures or video, but 3 years ago when we heard our aquarium was getting an octopus, we were there. Like, we have been there since day one for this octopus.
So yeah, as you just heard, Brittany explains that her son loves going to this aquarium, and there's an octopus at this aquarium that is quite a key part in this whole story. We can see a picture here from one of the first times that they saw this octopus. As you can see, it's actually very small in this image. And this was a few years ago. Now, more recently, the octopus is obviously a lot bigger. And one thing that gets brought up a lot throughout this is that the aquarium apparently allows anyone to touch the octopus, right? It's not even like staffed, according to Brittany. So with it being an octopus, it would suction onto like someone who was touching them, right? But then it would always kind of like let go, and I guess it was like playful. I'm not an octopus expert by any means. I know that might be surprising to some people, but I do want to clarify that because there's a lot of theories that we're going to be listening to throughout these series of videos, talking about if the octopus is being like aggressive or it's scared or if it's being mistreated. Like, there's a lot of opinions that come up here. So recently, Brittany and her son went to go and see this octopus again. Her son loves this octopus, right? So he goes to try and like play with the octopus, I guess, like he touches the octopus. But this time when the octopus suctions onto him, it's just not letting go.
My son is very level-headed when it comes to animals. So when he had his arm in there and he starts saying, "Mom, it's not letting me go," and way too calmly, I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm like helping him get down from like the step and trying to pull him away from the octopus. And that octopus is not letting go. The octopus starts coming out of the tank. And the reason we don't have pictures and videos of this is because my friend was also freaking out. So I am trying to get him like to come down, but we start freaking out because that octopus is now bigger than my 6-year-old. So if we have this octopus like outside of the water, is it going to like engulf him and like swallow him whole? I don't know. And I'm also not touching that octopus. I'm not that desperate yet. And the octopus is now like hanging halfway outside of the tank. And I don't want to hurt the octopus. Like, I do love animals as much as my son does. And he didn't want to hurt the octopus. So I tell him like, can you grab with your other arm, like this octopus off of you? And he goes, no, I can't. Like, he's trying, and he's like, I cannot get it off.
Now, one thing to note that we hear a few times throughout this whole situation is that her son actually believes that this is like the coolest thing ever. Like, he really liked the fact that this situation happened. As we mentioned, he really likes this octopus, right? So he actually wasn't like overly scared, or Brittany goes on to explain that he did seem like a little bit scared at the time, but since then he thinks like it's a cool situation. But as for Brittany, you know, being the mum here, she was obviously like freaking out and worried about this situation, especially since this tank isn't staffed the majority of the time, according to Brittany, right? So she's worried about like this potentially happening to somebody else who doesn't like really love this octopus like her son does. But either way, Brittany carries on and talks about how the staff eventually came over. They're trying to get this octopus off her son, can't do it. More people come over, they're still struggling.
And finally, a guy comes walking very nonchalantly towards us, and he's like, "Oh, isn't she playful today?" I'm like, "This hot octopus is halfway out the tank, like trying to eat my son, but yeah, playful, sure." And he tries getting it off of him, and he can't get it off of him. So he takes out his radio and starts calling for ice packs. And I think, oh, good idea. My kid is going to need an ice pack after this. That wasn't what it was for. 2 people come running in with ice packs and like try to put it on the octopus. And I guess maybe to like shock it out of what, I don't know. They could not get it off my son. 3 grown adults, including me.
Now, eventually the situation gets resolved in the sense that, like, they get the octopus off her son, right? So after this situation, Brittany goes on to research kind of what happened here. Through her research, she believes that this behavior just isn't normal. Now, one thing she says continuously throughout the situation is that she's not blaming the octopus at all in this situation, right? It's an octopus. But who she is blaming is the aquarium. You know, the fact, again, that the tank isn't staffed. this could happen to somebody else who might have a much worse reaction to it than her son did, might be like very scared.
And from the beginning of this video, you saw how far back the tentacle marks go, and it has not gotten better tonight. Like, it still looks this bad. So at first we all just kept saying, oh my gosh, like, it missed you so much. It just wanted not to let you go. But then I started like researching behavior, even though I've done some research. Literally what his entire science fair project was for kindergarten. He goes to a science school. So I know a little bit, at least. We've read a few books and I've watched hours of documentaries. So that being said, I know this behavior is not normal. And since this octopus is getting up there in years, I read that it can start becoming like super erratic or clingy.
Brittany then goes on to explain that a few hours later they went back. Her son really wanted to see the octopus again. And then this time when they went back, when the octopus saw her son, he like started changing colour and went white.
So again, there's a huge crowd of people. So when we finally got up to the glass, this is what he looked like. And he like made eye contact with my son and immediately shot out like this and started to change colors and come close to him, which my research has also told me is a little bit alarming. So I'm going to need all cephalopod experts to weigh in because yeah, he turned white.
And then Brittany ends this video by saying that she's worried about the octopus and also future visitors.
But I am concerned for the animal and for like other visitors because I'm worried that a less calm child or less calm like parent would have reacted badly, like punching the octopus in the head. But honestly, I didn't want to touch the octopus and I wanted to keep it safe.
So this was the original video. Now, since this video was posted, this has just spiraled into a much bigger situation with multiple news outlets not only just like posting articles, but actually like showing it on national TV. Most notably, I believe it ended up on like Good Morning America. I'm not too familiar with like a lot of American shows, obviously, right? But I've heard of Good Morning America, so I assume it's a pretty big one. Now, this first video resulted in a big mix of responses, right? So there was a lot of people who were on the side of Brittany and thought this aquarium being negligent in the way that they're running it, you know, not staffing the tank, allowing for something like this to happen whilst they're not there and can't do anything about it until they're notified. There was a lot of people doubting the story, saying that they don't believe that the tank would be unstaffed, if you will, which Brittany does respond to in the next video. And then there was also people who were blaming Brittany and saying that she endangered a child, which she responds to directly in a future video that we'll get to. But to go in a chronological order of the video releases here, the next video, Brittany actually responds to people saying that they don't believe that the tank was unstaffed.
So for all of you guys that are like doubting me that this was an unmanned tank, this is how it looked today, even after everything. Another view of this area. This signage is super new, but also again confirming that this is an area that you can interact with the octopus without it being staffed.
And then Brittany goes on to explain that the octopus again turned white when it saw her son.
He wasn't opening his eyes, and immediately he opened his eyes and did turn white, or like that pale gray color that you're gonna see.
I did look up what this could mean, and to the best of my knowledge, the way I understand it is it's kind of like based on like the feelings of the octopus, so it could be like due to like stress or fear or different emotions. But again, this is another reason why people are concerned in the comments, because they believe that this could be a sign that the octopus is being mistreated. Now in this next video, Brittany goes on to talk about how this aquarium actually already has a bad reputation.
So his wife, Christy Cavino, owns the San Antonio one. And there has been so many things that have happened that have been reported and documented, like a porcupine getting out of one cage and killing another one. And that was August 2023. They also got a citation for hazardous cages due to frayed rope, peeling paint, and splintered wood. In 2022, the rabbits were housed in an area that got up to 89 degrees and didn't have proper ventilation, so they were cited for that. And so many others, going back to armadillos and the lemurs, completely breaking all the USDA rules.
And yeah, looking on ksat.com, they also go into some more details about stuff like this. Like, goes on to say, later in 2018, it was temporarily closed by the city of Leon Valley after multiple safety hazards were found following a routine fire inspection, KSAT reported. Violations range from unsecured propane tanks to hazardous electrical wiring. In 2020, the aquarium was shut down by Leon Valley Police for violating an emergency declaration due to the coronavirus pandemic. The aquarium allowed patrons inside the building, which was a violation of the ordinance, police told KSAT. But yeah, either way, up until this point, the aquarium hadn't responded to any of this until they actually posted a video which felt like a bit of a response. And this response was basically the aquarium showing the octopus and how it suctions onto people, but it's just playing, right? If he wanted to bite, he would bite, but he doesn't. But the video doesn't really get their message across very well, because an adult who was like playing with this octopus, I guess, is definitely struggling to get the octopus off them.
They're very, very strong animals. And they're inverts, so there's no skeletal structure. The only hard portion of their body is going to be that mouth. So they do have a beak, and that beak is actually venomous. And the Cthulhu is playing with me. Very, very curious animal. And she has a large 1,000-gallon tank, which is over the size of what is recommended for an octopus. And if she really wanted to, she could totally bite me. But she's not trying to do that. So I'm getting a bunch of octopus kisses right now and just loves people. I know you love me, but you just can't. You can't come with me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so, I mean, you can see that she struggles a bit towards the end there. And again, obviously, right, none of this is an octopus's fault, right? It's an octopus. For this tank to be unmanned, apparently, like the majority of the time, it does seem a bit dangerous to me. Because if that happened to a child, like it happened to Brittany's kid, and say, like, the octopus, like, accidentally drags the kid into, like, the tank with them, and maybe isn't letting go, I mean, the kid's in the fucking tank, right? It could end in a really bad situation. Now, like I mentioned earlier when we watched the original video, the response was mixed, and there were some people saying that Brittany was the one endangering her child, to which she actually directly responds to.
I'm getting a lot of crap in the comments for endangering my child and not knowing better about octopuses, but let me tell you something. When you go into an establishment like that and not knowing anything about, didn't know anything about sea creatures, really. They're talking like that to you, and they are telling you, like, this is playful, this is fun, and giving you this experience, and your child is absolutely enthralled with it. You don't, I didn't question anything, and we've already talked about that. That's on me. However, they are now putting that out as a message to the public. So much fun, you get to come here and get octopus kisses. Do I need to remind you what my son's arm looked like?
Now, at this point, it had been a couple of weeks since the original video, and this is where we actually got a much more direct response from the aquarium about this whole situation. So reading this here, it says the aquarium sent a statement to local ABC affiliate KSAT, which said, at the San Antonio Aquarium, the safety and well-being of our guests, staff, and animals are our top priorities. We are aware of a recent statements regarding an interaction between a guest and our giant Pacific octopus during a visit to our facility. We would like to provide clarity on the incident and address any concerns. During the visit, a guest and her child engaged with an octopus exhibit. The octopus exhibit is a 1,000+ gallon habitat intentionally designed with a tall barrier to provide safety for both guests and the animal. Reaching the octopus requires a person to lean fully over the wall of the enclosure and reach approximately 24 inches down from the top ledge. Feeding interactions are strictly allowed only with staff supervision, as indicated by posted signage on the exhibit which states guests must follow all rules and instructions. So Brittany does end up responding to this and says that that sign that they're talking about here is very new, according to Brittany, right? In this instance, the guest leaned her child over the exhibit barrier, allowing him to reach into the habitat without staff supervision. The octopus displayed typical curious behaviour by touching and holding the child's arm. At no point was the octopus aggressive or attempting to harm the child. Our staff responded promptly to assist, ensuring the child was safely removed from the interaction. The child remained calm throughout, and medical assistance was offered but declined by the mother. An incident report was completed and signed by the mother at the time of the event. Now, this part's very interesting because, as we're about to see, Brittany says that this is a bunch of lies. We want to emphasize that our giant Pacific octopus is a healthy, well cared for animal that thrives in its habitat and does not exhibit harmful behavior towards guests or staff. Octopuses are highly intelligent and curious creatures, and their interactions with humans are often playful and exploratory. However, as with any animal encounter, there are inherent risks, which is why we have strict protocols in place to ensure safety for all. The San Antonio Aquarium remains committed to providing safe, educational, and memorable experiences for all visitors while maintaining the highest standards of care for our animals. We encourage all guests to follow posted guidelines and staff instructions to ensure a safe and enjoyable visit. And like I mentioned, Brittany ends up responding to this statement and basically says, like, a big part of it is a lie, specifically talking about this, like, report and, like, asking if they wanted, like, medical assistance.
Fucking pisses me off. The child remained calm throughout, and medical assistance was offered but declined by the mother. An incident report was completed and signed by the mother at the time of the event. No, it fucking wasn't, and I have witnesses. Hey, San Antonio Aquarium, if this is the case, release it. Release my incident report. Where is it? Where did I sign it? And release the security footage as well, because I have people that were there at the time of this incident that are willing to come forward.
And then again goes on to talk about how the tank is rarely ever staffed.
And every time after that, when we would go ask an employee if we could touch the octopus, they would say, yeah, go ahead. And there has been a total of 2 times that I've ever seen that tank staffed by any employee. And like I said, we were there all the time. At some point, we stopped asking for employees to come over there with us, because every time we did, they said, yeah, just go ahead. And they would never come with us. The signage that there is now a feeding encounter there is super new. Like within the past few months, there used to be absolutely no signage except for a sign that says you can touch it.
And then another statement from Brittany reads, the San Antonio Aquarium's response is not only false, it is defamatory and appears to be a deliberate attempt to divert attention from the serious issues at hand. Contrary to the aquarium's claims, no medical attention was offered to my son, and I was not asked to sign an incident report. Several other adults were there with me at the time and can attest to this. Because blame was never my intent, I only later sent an email solely to formally document the incident out of concern for the animal and the safety of others, but I received no response. Typically, contact with the octopus in that exhibit would only be possible by lifting a child over the glass, something we have done in the past with under direct staff's instructions. This tank is never staffed, and the public is often left to interact with the animals unsupervised. The only signage provides instructions for a feeding encounter. However, during this incident, the octopus was already near the glass, which I've documented on my video. My son was able to reach it without assistance. The interaction revealed behaviours that we had not witnessed before. With the guidance of multiple experts, we have since learned that these behaviours are consistent with senescence, I believe, the natural decline that occurs near the end of an octopus's life, and that neither the tank setup nor the nature of public interaction aligns with their AZA's standards for giant Pacific octopus care. This article also goes on to say, according to the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, AZA's website, which is an organisation dedicated to making sure zoos and aquariums are meeting the highest standards of animal care, the San Antonio Aquarium is not one of its accredited members. So yeah, like I mentioned, this situation has made mainstream news now. It was on Good Morning America, like they interviewed Brittany on Good Morning America, and a bunch of other like local news stations on top of that. And this has basically turned into a big safety concern regarding the aquarium. Obviously, we just read the response right now. I don't know if there's going to be like an investigation into the aquarium to see if they are meeting safety standards or what's going to happen next. Like I said, the newest update, the newest video we just watched is only a few hours old. But yeah, this is a situation that definitely had a lot of mixed opinions. Now, I would love to know your opinion in the comment section down below on whose side you're on. Who do you think's in the right? Who do you think's in the wrong? Do you think they're both in the wrong? Do you think they're both in the right? All your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know. And yeah, if you did enjoy this video, please do leave a like on it. Subscribe if you are new. Also, if you're interested in some other content, me and Emily have a channel where we play games, react to reality shows, do vlogs, stuff like that. If you're interested in any of that, that's always linked in the description. And yeah, until the next one, I'll see you guys in a bit. Alright, goodbye.